And as is the case with many people who followed certain athletes, I feel like emotionally invested in his career. This is devastating. First of all, the injury that he was coming back from, people were like, oh, thank God it's not an Achilles. But I think people were a little quick to just assume he was going to be the same guy. That's a very serious, catastrophic injury that Klay was recovering from. And don't forget, this kid is so tough, he didn't want to come out. He wanted to play on one leg. Like he is one of the all-time great two-way guards in terms of the level of his shooting, capable of getting hotter than anyone who ever lived. He once scored 26 points in a quarter, and it was the second highest quarter that he had that season. Quarter, because he went for 37 in another quarter, right? Like the all-time record. And he was an excellent defender, and as I said, tough as nails. A big part of what made Golden State so special. So coming back off a catastrophic injury where people are like, oh, thank God it's not an Achilles, but oh my God, this is really bad. To now have something that could be the worst case scenario is a total nightmare. I'm just hoping with everyone else, I'm sure, that what the news we get back today is not a worst case scenario.
We all are. And let me just say this quickly. Jay, you did an absolute excellent job on the draft coverage last night. Watched the whole thing. So kudos to you. But Stephen A., you always have your ear to the street. What are you hearing about this?
Well, first of all, I was on SportsCenter last night talking about how the Warriors were championship contenders, and it was in the first segment of the show. And by the bottom of the hour, they had given me the news about what transpired with Klay Thompson, and I said, "This is nightmarish. Their championship hopes have just gone out the window." And then immediately after, or not immediately after, but a few hours later that evening, I got word that Klay Thompson, there was movement with his calf muscle, which is supposed to be a good sign that there's nothing torn there. There's an MRI scheduled within the next 30 minutes or so. He's having an MRI, and it will be determined whether or not something has been torn or what have you, and then they'll know definitively. So we should know right around the time of the end of the show whether or not Klay Thompson is going to be gone for a significant period of time based on this injury that he sustained yesterday. At the end of the day, here's what it comes down to. With or without Klay, because of Steph Curry, if you have other bodies that are healthy, the Andrew Wiggins of the world, the James Wiseman, who I think is a good pickup for them, the Draymond Greens of the world, along with what we saw from other guys that were in the lineup for them last year, I think this team can squeeze into the playoffs. But the championship aspirations are out the window. You're not winning a championship without Klay Thompson, just like you're not winning a championship without Steph Curry. It's the combination of both that makes them who they are. Together and healthy, they are the greatest shooting backcourt that I have ever seen in the history of the game. They're the greatest shooting backcourt, as far as I'm concerned, since mankind. That's how great they are as snipers, as shooters. And together, you cannot dismiss them. You cannot count them out. But if one of them is missing, regardless of which one it is, their championship hopes go out the window, particularly with KD no longer being there. That's how significant this blow is. Any championship aspirations that the Golden State Warriors have go right out the window if Klay Thompson can't play. They can make the playoffs. They can squeeze in there. But championship contention, no way.
And hours away from probably knowing some of the severity of Klay Thompson's latest injury.
Yeah, I mean, I'm shifting towards the trade market. You know, you go from the draft last night, and now I'm looking at what does that $17 million trade exception get you, to kind of give you an insurance policy with the news of Klay. And you also wanted to try to use that to build out your bench here. So you're looking down rosters and seeing what makes sense. That exception expires on, I believe, on Monday, on the 23rd here. So, yeah, it's a shame. I had them as my loser of the night, and it wasn't because of the James Wiseman pick. It was because of they basically set the tone with with the injury to Klay Thompson, and we wait and see. But yeah, you'll have that exception to try to figure out if you can go out and acquire a player and trade. But from a free agent standpoint, you're looking at guys who are in the minimum salary. You've got that $5.7 million taxman level. The shooting guard position is not a good class for free agents out there. So yeah, you went from potentially a top 4 team in the Western Conference, and now probably a team just fighting to get into the playoffs if he has a long-term injury here.
How does the James Wiseman pick at number 2 impact the roster now for the Golden State Warriors?
Well, I mean, it gives him a starting center right off the bat, and I think you could put Wiseman out there, when you get going in training camp and play, 20, 25 minutes. I like what they did. I think they did not panic, and all of a sudden you get news that Klay's hurt, and all of a sudden you, as I said last night, getting cute with your board, and you're moving guys around that you didn't have, or you're moving back, and now you got to get shooting and stuff. They didn't. They said, hey, James is the best player at number 2. We're going to pick it. We're going to deal with the Klay injury tomorrow, and we go from there. So I always said, though, Keyshawn, that the one thing you want to do, and there was a lot of talk about, do they trade the pick and they move back? I said, well, you draft these guys, and you polish them all up nice, and then let's see where they are in February or March when the trade deadline comes around, and maybe there's, when you have that and you have that Minnesota pick, maybe there's an all-star out there that you can try to go get. It was a little bit premature, so I like the Wiseman pick. I think it will certainly help, but like most of these kids, there's still going to be a big-time learning curve here.
Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA front office insider, joining us here on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin this morning. Who won the draft, Bobby, last night? Who got the best?
Philadelphia, yeah. Sorry, Philadelphia. I think they won the draft because once again they showed us that any contract is movable. With the Horford trade that started the night with getting Danny Green and Terrence Ferguson. I liked what they did at 21 with Tyrese Maxey, and then they went out and got Seth Curry, and for they sent Josh Richardson to Dallas and got Seth Curry and Daryl Morey in his first night to the boatload of money, balanced out that roster. We'll see where Simmons is from a health standpoint, but I really like what Philadelphia did. I like what Brooklyn did. I like what the Clippers did, where they kind of sacrificed draft picks, but they want for win-now players. Brooklyn with Landry Shamet and with the Clippers with Luke Kennard there. So, now we enter free agency, and we'll see how that plays out.
Hey, Bobby, Bart Scott, I love talking to you because you're like a beautiful mind and you play chess, not checkers. I still want to go back to Golden State because last year when they traded D'Angelo Russell for Wiggins, I believe that pick was made so that they can eventually move Wiggins. And that's why, it was a lot of reports saying that maybe they were going to move the pick and maybe end Wiggins. And now they have a wrench in that, of course, with Klay. But, the deal that fell through with Bogdanovich, do we see maybe potentially him being someone that can go and the Golden State Warriors can capitalize on bringing him in and having like a mini big three all over again?
I think it's going to be a challenge with Bogdanovich just because of, you saw what Milwaukee just went through with when you acquire a player in a sign and trade and he's a restricted free agent, it hard caps you. And when you have the contracts of Thompson, Curry, Green, already, and if you want to go to sign and trade route, it really limits you, and I don't even think it would even work because where the Warriors' salaries are now, I think they're $15 or $16 million even over the luxury tax. So that would be a challenge. You basically have to move the Wiggins money, elsewhere and some other pieces here, which is going to be tough to do. But yeah, this is not I call it a singles and doubles free agent class. I mean, it's not it's probably heavy at the center position, something they do not need. They do have that Minnesota pick, but I don't know if you really in 2021. I don't know if you're there yet that you want to go out and dangle